Let's begin with one of the most fundamental conversation starters. How are you? It's so ubiquitous, but why is this phrase so essential in English interactions?
Great question. How are you? Operates as a social lubricant, breaking the initial awkwardness. Whether in a formal business meeting or a casual party, it shows politeness and genuine interest, setting the stage for deeper conversation.
Absolutely, and the tone can really change the meaning, right? For example, a cheerful, how are you, differs greatly from a somber one. Can you elaborate on how intonation affects perception?
Certainly, intonation conveys emotion. A rising tone can indicate excitement, while a flat tone might seem indifferent. Studies in social linguistics show that non-native speakers who master intonation are viewed as friendlier and more competent.
Moving on, let's talk about farewells. See you later is such a common way to say goodbye informally. Why do you think it's preferred over more formal farewells in many contexts?
See you later implies an ongoing relationship, suggesting you anticipate meeting again. It's warmer than a simple goodbye, which can feel final. This phrase is especially popular among friends or colleagues.
Interesting. There's also the variant, see ya, used among close friends. Do these subtle differences in phrasing impact relationship building in English-speaking cultures?
Absolutely. Linguists note that informal variants like see ya foster a sense of camaraderie and approachability. It's a small linguistic cue that signals closeness and reduces social distance.
Now, let's explore initiating deeper conversations. What do you do? Is a staple at networking events and social gatherings. Why is this question so prevalent in English-speaking societies?
Work identity is a central aspect in many cultures, especially in the US and UK. By asking, what do you do? You're not just inquiring about someone's job, but opening a window into their daily routines, passions, and priorities.
That makes sense. Some might find it intrusive, though. How can learners gauge when it's appropriate to ask this question?
Context is key. In formal settings, it's almost expected. In casual situations, it's better to wait for cues like someone mentioning work. Alternatively, you could ask about hobbies to start more gently.
Let's address a common challenge, expressing partial understanding. How does the phrase a little bit help learners communicate their abilities without embarrassment?
A little bit is a diplomatic way to be honest about your skills. It signals willingness to try without overpromising. For example, if someone asks, do you speak English? Answering a little bit encourages patience from the other person.
There's also just a little. Are these phrases interchangeable, or are there subtle differences in tone or formality?
They're largely interchangeable, but just a little can sound a bit more modest. Nonverbal cues like a smile also help convey approachability and a desire to improve.
Switching gears, greetings such as good morning are more than just polite words. How do these rituals affect workplace or classroom dynamics?
Consistent use of greetings like good morning fosters a positive atmosphere. According to a 2019 Harvard Business Review article, teams that greet each other daily report 30% higher satisfaction and productivity.
That's impressive. Is it common to use informal variants like morning in professional settings, or should learners stick to the full phrase?
It depends on company culture, but informal versions are increasingly accepted, especially in creative industries. Erring on the side of formality is safest until you grasp the environment.
Let's consider first impressions. Nice to meet you is often the first thing people say after introductions. What makes this phrase so effective?
It immediately expresses respect and openness. Research in intercultural communication shows that such phrases help lower barriers, making both parties more receptive to further interaction.
There's also pleased to meet you, which sounds slightly more formal. In what context would you recommend using each?
Pleased to meet you fits formal events like job interviews or business meetings. Nice to meet you is universal and safe in nearly all scenarios.
Another key phrase is, where are you from? This can spark meaningful conversations, but can also be sensitive. How should learners approach this question?
It's vital to ask with genuine curiosity, not as a way to single someone out. Pairing it with your own origin, like, I'm from Brazil, where are you from? Makes it inclusive and friendly.
What about variations like, where do you come from? Do they carry the same intent?
They're similar, though, where do you come from? Can sound slightly more formal or distant. Context and tone will guide which is best.
Misunderstandings are inevitable. Phrases like, sorry, I don't understand, and could you say that again, are crucial. Why are these so empowering for language learners?
They allow learners to take charge of their learning. Instead of pretending to understand, asking for repetition or clarification signals engagement. Research shows learners who do this progress 25% faster.
That's a compelling statistic. Are there polite alternatives for these phrases?
Certainly, I didn't get that, or would you mind repeating that, are softer. Using excuse me beforehand also adds politeness.
Let's delve into real-world scenarios. Asking, can you help me? Or I'm looking for this address can be vital, especially when traveling. What strategies can learners use to maximize clarity in these situations?
Visual aids are powerful. Pointing to a map or showing a written address helps bridge language gaps. Short, clear sentences and gestures enhance understanding. Practicing these phrases in role plays builds confidence.
Is it helpful to pair these requests with gratitude, like, thank you so much?
Absolutely. Gratitude not only shows politeness, but often encourages more helpful responses from strangers.
As we wrap up, let's highlight time-related and farewell phrases. How do questions like, what time is it? And responses such as, it's 3 o'clock fit into everyday English?
They're indispensable for daily logistics, catching buses, scheduling meetings, or simply managing routines. Mastering these ensures learners can navigate time-sensitive situations smoothly.
And phrases like, have a nice day, how do they influence social interactions?
They leave a positive impression. Customer service research indicates that customers are 40% more likely to return when farewells are friendly and genuine.
To conclude, success in language learning isn't about memorizing phrases alone. What role do practice and consistency play in achieving fluency?
Consistent daily practice of speaking, listening, and repetition builds neural pathways, much like muscle memory in sports. Language learning is a marathon, not a sprint. Steady effort yields lasting results.
Any final tips for learners to stay motivated on their journey?
Track your progress, celebrate small wins, and use English in real conversations as often as possible. Remember, fluency is built with patience, persistence, and practice.
Let's start with the basics. Phrases like, how are you and good morning are more than just words. Why are these greetings so important in English communication?
Great question. Greetings serve as social lubricants. For instance, saying good morning not only marks the time of day, but also sets a friendly tone, showing politeness and approachability. It's the first step in building rapport.
That makes sense. I've noticed, how are you is used almost automatically. Is there more to it than just a polite gesture?
Absolutely. Though often ritualistic, how are you expresses interest in the other person's well-being. In both formal and informal contexts, it signals that you're open to conversation, which can be crucial for forming connections.
Transitioning from greetings, how do phrases like nice to meet you and where are you from help in starting deeper conversations?
Phrases like nice to meet you acknowledge introductions and show respect, while where are you from offers an easy entry point for further discussion. These questions invite stories, creating opportunities for genuine connection.
Would you say these questions can sometimes be sensitive, especially in multicultural settings?
It's possible. The key is context and tone. When asked respectfully, such questions often open doors rather than close them. But being aware of cultural nuances is always wise.
Moving on, how do replies like a little bit or just a little play a role in conversations, especially for language learners?
These phrases are crucial for communicating one's limitations without feeling embarrassed. For example, if someone asks, "Do you speak English?" responding with a little bit manages expectations and invites patience or simpler language.
So it's a way to keep the conversation going rather than shutting it down?
Exactly. It shows willingness to engage, even if skills are limited. In fact, a 2021 study found that non-native speakers who use such hedging phrases are perceived as more approachable and eager to learn.
Let's talk about what do you do? A common question at networking events. Why is this phrase so effective in English-speaking cultures?
It's a socially accepted way to learn about someone's profession and daily life. In many cultures, occupation is a central part of identity. so this question quickly uncovers shared interests or potential collaborations.
Are there risks of seeming intrusive when asking about someone's job?
That can happen, especially in cultures where work isn't central to identity. The trick is to follow up with genuine interest and listen actively, making the conversation feel reciprocal rather than interrogative.
Let's shift to expressing uncertainty. Phrases like I'm not sure or it depends come up a lot. Why are these useful?
They allow speakers to communicate doubt or conditionality without closing off discussion. For instance, it depends invites further questions, signaling that you're open to exploring possibilities and not just giving a yes or no answer.
Could this be perceived as indecisive in some settings?
That's a fair point, but framing uncertainty as openness rather than indecision often fosters more collaborative problem solving, especially in business or academic discussions.
Now, let's consider phrases like excuse me, let me check, and take your time. How do these contribute to polite exchanges?
So phrases soften interactions. Excuse me is essential for getting attention or apologizing, while let me check and take your time manage expectations and show respect for others' schedules, building trust and goodwill.
Can you share an example where using these phrases prevented misunderstanding?
Certainly. Imagine a busy cafe saying excuse me before asking for directions not only grabs attention, but also signals courtesy, making the listener more receptive and reducing potential annoyance.
In group settings, phrases like that sounds great or sounds good to me are common. How do these impact group dynamics?
Positive affirmations like these foster collaboration and enthusiasm. According to a 2019 study on team communication, groups that regularly use affirming language experience higher morale and more effective decision-making.
Are there cultural variations in responding to suggestions this way?
Absolutely. Some cultures prefer more indirect agreement, but in English-speaking contexts, being explicit's I'm in or perfect is often appreciated and encourages momentum.
Transitioning to empathy, phrases like good luck, bless you, and fingers crossed pop up in supportive contexts. What's their function?
They express care and shared sentiment. For example, saying good luck before an exam or bless you after a sneeze shows you're attentive and invested in others' well-being. These small gestures cumulatively strengthen social bonds.
Can you think of a situation where such phrases might be especially meaningful?
Absolutely, before job interviews or health procedures, a simple fingers crossed can provide comfort and a sense of solidarity, even between acquaintances.
Let's explore departures. Why do phrases like see you later or see ya matter beyond just ending a conversation?
They signal an intention to reconnect. Unlike a definitive goodbye, see you later leaves the door open for future interaction, which is key in maintaining relationships, especially in workplaces or among friends.
Do these phrases change in more formal settings?
Definitely. You might use goodbye or have a great day in formal contexts, but informally, variations like catch you later add warmth and can even become inside jokes among close contacts.
Finally, let's talk about building fluency. How can learners move from memorizing these phrases to using them naturally?
Active practice is essential. Repeating phrases aloud, writing sentences, and using them in real conversations like greeting 5 people with good morning helps internalize language patterns. Consistency builds confidence.
Are there any technology tools or methods that can accelerate this process?
Absolutely. Language apps provide instant feedback, while recording yourself or role-playing in front of a mirror refines pronunciation and delivery. The key is combining repetition with real-world application for lasting results.